Okay, sit yourself on a lift just to give you a gentle elevation, which makes your cross-legged position more effective. So just come into cross legs and just have a little wriggle about. Just make sure that you feel evenly placed. Just have a little wriggle about. Just make sure that you're feeling even. So feel that your seat bones feel level on the lift. Just have a little wriggle about and then hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest and draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Just look down at the floor, look at something that's not moving. Just focus on long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations and exhalations. Consciously soften your jaw, soften your tongue, soften your throat. Just spend a little time to still the eyes in the sockets. And then release the knees, elevate the heart area upwards, bring your hands into Namaste. Lengthen from the armpits into the elbows into the heels of the hands to the fingertips. And with an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently close. Focus on the sound of the breath, filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. Observing that as you inhale, you draw in energy from the universe around us. The energy from the atmosphere enters through the nostrils, filling into the lungs, and then becomes part of the blood. Just focusing on the energy radiating out from the lungs into the arms, into the chest, into the head, into the torso and the legs. Gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area as you release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. Just bring the index finger and the thumb together, stretch into the Remaining fingers, just lengthening those away from the palms, just a symbol of peacefulness in the hands. And then when you're ready, just gently raise your head and allow your eyes to softly open. So hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest, elevating the heart area up to the ceiling, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the right side, drawing the abdomen from the left to the right, drawing the abdomen and the ribs and the shoulders, just listening to the breath. And then come back to the center. Hold onto your knees, lift up into the heart area. Take a deep inhalation. And then turn to the left. Drawing the abdomen across the ribs and the shoulders. Soften the jaw and the tongue and the throat. And then come back to the center. Just come off your lift, come down onto your shins, sit back on your heels, big toes together, your knees are apart. Just spend a moment just letting your legs just adjust to Virasana, just allowing the shins to make contact with the mat. Just observe which part of your shins make contact with the floor. Maybe it's the top and the bottom of the shins make good contact with the floor, but maybe the middle not so much. And maybe you roll into the inside edge of the shins and you don't really stretch into the little toe side of the foot. So push the heels apart, press the big toes together, push the heels apart so that you roll the feet onto the little toe side. The big toes are still down, but we spread across the underside of the sole of the foot from the instep out to the outer edge of the foot. And then maybe we come onto the center of the shins, lift up into the chest, and then come forward, spreading your palms, keeping the seat bones in contact with the heels if you can. Use a block or a blanket between the seat bones and the heels if you can't. Keep the heart area lifting, keep the head lifting as you stretch your arms forwards. And then finally, bring the forehead down. So breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Just listening to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. Come up onto your knees, turn your toes under, and then come up into dog down. So just work into your dog down. And just observe the evenness of action inside the pose. Focus on filling the lungs evenly on both sides. Filling the lungs from the bottom to the top, emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. Breathe into the armpit chest. Just spend a little time inside the pose, just acknowledging where the body is willing and able and where it's not. Try and get the legs to work evenly, like mirror images of each other. Using the more eager leg to get the less eager leg to work more firmly. And then step your feet forwards, come up into a standing position. If you have back problems, then come into half uttanasana with your hands on blocks or the hands on the top of a table. Otherwise, we're going to go into full uttanasana. So turn your toes in. Have your feet as wide apart as the mat with the outside edge of your feet lining up with the edge of the mat. And then lift up into the chest, lift into the heart area. Raise your arms up to the ceiling. Spread the fingers, really work into the palms of the hands. Then hook the thumbs into the crease of the elbows, wrap your fingers around your elbows, and then just hang down. Listen to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. Feel how, if you activate the fronts of the legs, you really open up your energy in the backs of the legs. Push the fronts of the legs through to the backs of the legs. Turn the fronts of the thighs inwards. Just allow the top of the body to hang down. Again, just spend some time inside the pose, just acknowledging the more enthusiastic leg, the less enthusiastic leg, and getting the less enthusiastic leg to mirror the more enthusiastic. And then release your hands down to the floor. Bring your hands into your hips and then come up into a standing position. Just have the inner edge of your feet together, lifting up into the chest. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Gaining the energy from the in-breath. Feeling out into the lining of the lungs and into the blood. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards the chest, and then step or jump the feet wide apart. Just lift up into the chest. Turn your left toes in and turn the right leg and foot all the way out. Turning the thighs all the way out. Lift up into the chest, stretch out into the arms, and then find the shin, look up. Breathing even deep inhalations and exhalations. Working from the feet up into the legs, into the hips, into the spine, into the arms. The energy comes from the feet and works its way up the body. Come back to the center. Keep your arms outstretched if you can. Swap the feet around, turn the right toes in. Left leg and foot all the way out, and then come over to the left. Again, lifting out of your feet into the shins, into the knees, into the thighs, into the hips, into the spine, into the arms, stretching up to that top arm as much as stretching down to the bottom. Breathing even and deep inhalations and exhalations. Filling the lungs evenly. Gleaning energy from the breath. Come back to the center, bring your feet parallel, and then step or jump the feet back together. Just come back into Tadasana, just observe the energy around the shoulders and in the head. Just listening to the breath. Long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations and exhalations. So we're going to do padangusthasana. So we're going to bring our feet wide apart, and then we're going to get hold of our big toes. If you can't reach your big toes without bending your knees or rounding your back, so we're going to do that. We're going to come forward with a straight back and straight legs. If you know you can't reach your toes, then just hook a belt underneath the big toe, in between the big toes like this, and then hit the heels out. And then as you come forwards in almost like it's half uttanasana, keeping the back straight. So we never come forwards in a back bend, in a forward bend like this. So if you try and come forwards with your head first, then you'll never ever get there, because your back isn't designed to kind of bend around, the middle of the back. But the hips are designed to hinge. So have your feet hip width apart. And as you come forwards, whether you're getting hold of the belt or you're coming forwards with your arms raised, then you've got to really keep the chest lifted. Like the back is kind of super glued to a plank of wood. And as you come forwards, you're gonna just come forwards with a straight back. Like I say, like it's kind of super glued to a plank of wood. Keeping the heart area lifted, keeping the head attentive to the heart, hinging at the hips, reaching into the little finger side of the hands, and then get the index finger and the middle finger underneath the big toe. Wrap the thumb around the outside of the big toe, and then hit the heels apart a little, keep the legs straight. Hit the shins back so that your weight is in your heels. Lift the seat bones away from the heels and then project the chin and the chest forwards. Have a tug of war with your big toes, like so. Stamp them down, then try and lift them up. Try and rip as though you're trying to rip a nail out of the floor. Breathing evenly. As you come forwards, never come forwards with your head, always come forwards with your heart. As you come forwards, you can bend your elbows out to the side, keeping the head lifted. Staying attentive to the heart area, hinging at the hips, hitting the shins back so that your weight is in your heels. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Bringing deep energy into the physical body. And then release your hands into half-uttanasana for a moment. Bring your hands into your hips, bend your knees on the way up if you need to, and then come up into a standing position. So we're going to do padahastasana, which is kind of the next stage. So we come into the pose in a similar way, keeping the heart lifted, hinging entirely at the hips, and then this time you walk the backs of the hands underneath the feet, so the soles of the feet touch the palms of the hands, and then again we work to extend the spine forwards. Now, if you know that you can't bring your feet underneath your hands underneath the feet, then you can step onto a blanket. Just bring the tops of your feet onto the blanket, and then you can either just come forwards, getting hold of the toes like you were doing before, or using the belt like you were doing before. So this lift here just gives you a little bit of extra kind of extension in the calf muscles, which is what you get when you stand on your hands. So padahastasana, if you've got a bad back, just do half-uttanasana with lifts. Otherwise, lift up into the chest. Raise your arms up and then hinge at the hips, gliding down, driving forwards from the heart area, lengthening into the little finger side. So even when you can reach the floor, it's useful to just keep reaching into the middle of the room. And see, can you get the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet to touch? And then hit your shins back. So wherever you've got hold, hit your shins back so that your weight goes into your heels. Is it in the center of the heel, or is it rolling out to the outside edge of the heel? Try and turn the fronts of the shins inwards so that it's the middle of the heel. Make the heels heavy, lift the seat bones away from the backs of the thighs, away from the heels, and then project the chin and the chest forwards. So extending into the spine. So we're not trying to draw the body into the legs quite yet. We're trying to extend into the spine, making the back straight. And then when the back is straight, and if the back is straight, you can bend your elbows out to the sides, drawing the body in, but again, coming forwards with the heart, not the head. Just working within your own limitations, being respectful of your own limitations, knowing where they are. Okay, release your hands, just come back into half-uttanasana. And then bend your knees if you need to, or walk your hands towards the end of your mat and come back up into dog down, this time with your hands shoulder width apart and your feet hip width apart. Just see if you can activate your legs like you were doing in padangusthasana and padahastasana. Extend the chest and the spine like you were doing in the first stages. Just breathing evenly. Just look, have a feel where your weight is on your feet, on your toes. Is it all leaning out into the little toe side, or can you turn the fronts of the shins so that the big toe side of the foot takes equal weight and pressure. Fill the lungs with positive energy. So that positive energy just comes from the environment around us. In yoga, we call that prana. We could just simplify that as oxygen. It's not quite the same thing, but it's similar enough. Fill the lungs with the energy of the breath. And then come down onto your knees and sit back on your heels. Sit on your heels, lifting up into the chest. So forward bending poses, those standing forward bending poses, good for generating a sensation of optimism. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Just observe the energy that you have released through your practice. The lightness in the bones, radiating out into the muscles. Okay, and then just sit back on your seat bones and just stretch your legs out in front. So just stretching into dandasana position. Have a belt where you can reach it. And if you feel that you're kind of sinking in the spine and you find it very difficult to lift up into the chest, then sit on a folded blanket. So have the feet together. Just roll over, move the buttock flesh out to the side, and then extend into the heels. Have the hands at the sides of the hips. Have the inner edge of the feet together. The heels might be slightly apart, because if you turn the legs inwards like you do in Tadasana, then the heels start to separate. Lift up into the heart area. Breathing even deep inhalations and exhalations. Raise your arms up. If you've got a problem with your back, just stay at this stage, just extending into the spine. If there's no problem with your back, then come forwards from the heart area, keeping the head lifted. If you can't reach your feet, then get the belt and put the belt around your feet and hold on wherever on the belt that you need to, or reach the feet if you can. Lift up into the heart area. Press the shins and the thighs into the mat and lift up into the chest. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So maybe this forward bend makes you generate heat on the inside. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Activate your legs really firmly, pressing them down into the floor, lifting up into the chest. Filling both lungs evenly. If you can bend your elbows out to the sides, lifting up into the heart area. If you can reach around your feet, then do. Lifting up into the heart region. It's just coming forward into paschimottanasana, just a little bit at a time. So always trying to keep the head lifted, driving the chin towards the legs, keeping the chest coming down onto the legs. And then just at the last minute, if your chest is on your legs, then you can just bring the head down a little. Keep the legs really firmly activated. Keep turning those thighs and the shins inwards. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, working at whichever level is right for you today. Okay, and then just gently come back into dandasana. Just observe the quietness that comes over the brain from that forward bending pose. And then bring the feet in towards the body for padangusthasana. So bring the feet in as close towards the seat bones as you can, holding around the big toes, lifting up into the heart area, up into the chest. Just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Pushing the heels consciously together. Elevating the heart area upwards. Listening to the breath. Driving the chest up to the ceiling. Again, if you've got a bad back, then just stay at this stage, just working to lengthen these inner thighs into the inner knees. Lengthening the inner knees around to the outer knees, and then the outer knees into the outer leg and up into the hip and down into the outer heels. And then you can really lift up into the chest. If you don't have a problem with your back, then lift up into the heart area and then gently begin to slowly come forward, lifting up into the chest, just working with consciousness of resistance. If you can bend your elbows into the inner groins and lengthen those inner groins out to the side, coming forwards a little at a time. And then you can reach forwards. So coming forwards into a forward bend, but keeping the head lifted, keeping the heart lifted. Just working with the limitations and the restrictions of your back. Lifting up into the chest. And then gently bring the feet, so you come back to the center, just get hold of the big toes again. Lift up into the chest. Again, just observe the quietness that comes over the brain when you come out of a forward bend. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Again, feeling the warmth that you have created inside. And then just bring the knees in and then just sit yourself in cross legs. If you can do half padmasana, sit yourself in half padmasana. Or just normal cross legs. If you need to sit on a lift to help lift the spine, then do that. Just hold onto your knees, elevating the heart area up to the ceiling, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Just look down at the floor and focus on inhalations and exhalations. As you inhale, observe how the chest rises upwards and outwards. As you inhale, aim to inflate each lung evenly. As you exhale, just observe how the rib cage relaxes and the chest lowers a little. Aim for full, deep inhalations without restriction, because unrestricted breath brings in greater energy to the physical body. So breathe into the front chest, into the armpit chest, and into the back chest. Just continuing to focus on inhalations and exhalations. Let me just put things on in the background here. Let me just close them. Just focusing on breathing evenly in through the nose and out through the nose. So we're going to do a few rounds of ujjayi pranayama stage 2. So stage 1 is just becoming conscious of the breath, conscious of the physical actions of the breath, the sounds of the breath. So listen to the sound of your breath. If you want to, you can close your eyes or just look at something that doesn't move. Just feel how conscious breath becomes quiet and in breath. So the first stage of ujjayi pranayama is just where we focus on the breath, like we're doing now. Focus on the expansion of the chest, the rising upwards and outwards of the chest, breathing in through both lungs. Sound of the breath that originates at the nostrils, and the sound of the out breath that originates at the back of the throat as the chest relaxes, as the intercostal muscles between the ribs relax. So the first stage of ujjayi pranayama is just to observe the breath, to become conscious of the breath. To feel the functions, to hear the sounds. And then the second stage of ujjayi pranayama, which we'll do in a few moments, is to continue to take normal inhalations, but longer exhalations until the lungs are empty and the sound of the breath stops. And then normal inhalations. And then focusing on just slow, deep, steady exhalations until the lungs are empty. Breathing out of both lungs evenly. Normal inhalations. So after your next normal exhalation, take a normal inhalation, and then we'll begin a few cycles of ujjayi stage 2, the slow, deep, steady exhalation until the lungs are empty. So just normal inhalations, long, slow, deep, steady exhalations until the lungs are empty. Perhaps you'll be conscious of the breath being longer than you expect. And with an exhalation, draw the chin down to meet the chest for Jalandhara Bandha, but maintain ujjayi stage 1. So Jalandhara Bandha, ujjayi stage 2. Jalandhara Bandha, and then incorporate Mula Bandha, lifting the anal sphincter up towards the diaphragm region. And then continuing with normal inhalations and slow, deep, steady exhalations until the lungs are empty. So there should never be any strain, just normal breath, but slightly longer than usual with the out breath. Observing the sounds of the breath. And then finish with a normal inhalation and then a normal exhalation. Releasing mula bandha and then raise your head. Just normal breathing, just observe quietness over the brain. Just listen to the sound of the breath. Just observe the energy that radiates out from the muscles. Lift the chest and then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across. Ribs and your shoulders. Using the out breath to intensify the turn. And then come back to the center, hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the left. And then come back to the center. Just stretch your legs out and then come down onto your back and get a block for back for setubandha. Come down onto your back, soles of the feet close to the seat bones. Just rest down on the floor for a moment. Just have your hands on your lower ribs. Just observe the breath. So just normal breathing, but just observe the expansion of the rib cage and the rise and the fall of the abdomen. And then push your feet really firmly into the floor, lifting the seat bones and the tailbone up off the floor, or as high up as you can get them. And then gather the shoulder blades together, come right onto the tops of the shoulders, and then place the brick into the tailbone, sacrum region of your back. And then hold onto the edges of the mat. Turn the crease of the elbows to face out to the sides of the room so that you broaden the collarbone. And then either stay with bent knees, or if you feel like your back will cope, you can stretch your legs out. Just do one at a time just to make sure that that feels okay in your back. And if it does, then consciously stretch Your legs out along the mat. Keep the legs in Tadasana. Just feel the openness of the fronts of the hips, of the abdomen. Just breathing even deep inhalations and exhalations. So just a supported inversion. Okay, when you're ready, just bring your feet back to the block. Let go of the sides of the mat. Just lift the seat bones up off the brick. So you might have to come up onto your tiptoes in order to do that. Lift the seat bones up off the brick and then just move it out the way. Adjust your shoulders on the way down and then guide yourself down onto the floor. Pull your knees in towards the chest and just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a gentle massage on the spine, just allowing yourself to really settle your back into the floor. And then when you're ready, just rock yourself up into a seated position, just sitting cross legs for a moment, just observe the energy around the head and the chest. And then just get your blanket, your folded blanket, just have a little pillow, make a little pillow out of your blanket for your head. Just guide yourself down the center of your mat, and then just allow yourself to release completely into the floor. So making sure you're in a good straight line so that you can properly relax. Just allow the arm and the leg muscles to completely relax. Unhook them and allow the arms and the legs and the torso and the head to become heavy on the floor. So listen to the breath as it fills into the lungs, bringing energy into the blood. And then observe how energy radiates out from the bones and into your muscles and your organs. And the flesh and the skin. It's radiating positive energy throughout the physical body. Focus on distributing that feeling of energetic lightness down into the tips of the toes, into the tips of the fingers, and into the top of the head. Just basking in that feeling of energetic positivity. And then wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers. And bend your knees in toward your chest. Bend your knees into your chest. Have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom. Just a gentle massage on the spine. And then gently roll over onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then stretch out into the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Come into cross legs with your hands in the masti, just a final spinal lift. Draw your breath in through your nose down into the abdomen. Conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends and the twists and the inversions bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you have created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel as though you've really lifted your energy and you've given yourself good positive energy to put into your day. So thank you very much for joining me.